let's talk about all the books that I read in the month of December. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome in. So glad to have you. So glad you clicked on today's video. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books I read in the last month of the year of 2025 in December. And I read a total of 10 books in the month of December. So not too bad of a reading month for me, especially since I had family coming in town. So yeah, let's just get into all of these books and talk about them. The first book that I read in the month of December was called John Calvin, Refugee Theologian, Introducing a Reformer in Exile. And this was by Kenneth J. Wu. I gave this one a 4 stars. It was an arc that I got on NetGalley that I was reviewing, and it was a decent book. It's a little bit more like textbook style and kind of like designed more for those who are like teaching and stuff on. So just be wary of that because it could get a little bit dry, and it was kind of repetitive in a lot of ways also, but it just kind of like showed a lot about Calvin and why he was the way he was, and how so much of his theology and the things that he believed in everything came from like this whole reformist and being like in exile and stuff like that, and some of his background, and it just gave some insight into that, but a lot of it was kind of repetitive. I'm not 100% sure if I would recommend this or not. I guess if you're looking for something like this, you don't mind a little bit more dry textbook-like style, and you're just kind of like more interested about John Calvin, or kind of like how or in what ways like being in exile and stuff like that kind of shaped his theology, then this might be the book for you. But it was an interesting read, to say the least. Next up, I read Joy to Noel by Tracy Buck. This was my last 5-star of the year. I was definitely not expecting it to be a 5-star, just because it's a Christmas book and that doesn't happen for me very often. But this one is the second in a little interconnected standalone Christmas series of hers. It does take place all throughout the year though, so it's not just in Christmas time. Be wary of that. But the banter and the characters throughout this was just adorable. I adored every second of it. I really loved this one. They kind of had a little bit of like a productivity competition going on throughout it, or at least towards the beginning of it, and that was really interesting. The MMC has a cat. There's some like Shakespearean humor in it, and some different cultural stuff woven in. I just really enjoyed my time with it and enjoyed all of it. I would definitely recommend it. I did read it around Christmas, and like I said, there is a large Christmas theme throughout it, and it does take place some in Christmas, but the whole of the novel takes place like all throughout like a whole year span. So if you're wanting to dive into this and it's not Christmas, but you don't mind a little bit of Christmas vibes, I would say go for it. And then the next book that I read was How to Kiss on Christmas Morning by Jenny Proctor. I gave this one a 4 stars. This one was cute. I was immediately drawn in because of the cover, because oh my dear goodness, this is like one of the cutest covers I have ever seen. And I do believe it's kind of like in an interconnected series of hers. It's got some family connection to one of her series, and I can't remember what it is, but you don't have to have read those series to like understand this one. I do know though that the girl in this is the sister of Alec, and Alec met Evie, which was one of my higher rated ones by her. So I did enjoy it. It was cute. I think this one might have been a novella. I can't remember. But basically she gets a job staying at this place over the holidays, and she's just like watching it and gonna like open up and help this catering place come in to host a Christmas Eve party for this big family, while the actual family is out of town. But they don't tell her that one of the cousins or something within this family is staying there and working there and everything. So they end up having kind of a budding romance, and she's a nurse and stuff. So I don't know. It was cute. It was short and sweet. Just like nice, feel good Christmas romance. So. And then next I read Christmas with a Crank by Courtney Walsh. This was a 4 stars. Definitely enjoyed this one. It was not the direction that I thought it was going to be. So they're saving a Christmas tree farm in this, but like it was a lot more like of a Debbie Downer in a different direction of saving a Christmas tree farm, if that makes sense. Like, I kind of thought the whole motivation of it was going to be that, but they're kind of like, our one main character, our FMC, is trying to save the Christmas tree farm, even though the MMC does not want the Christmas tree farm saved, and the parents are giving it away, or not giving it away, but selling it. And so it's like everybody's kind of like against her in some ways. But it was really interesting. It's kind of like a Grumpy Sunshine and a second chance romance almost, and a friends to lovers, because they were kind of like childhood friends, but then they kind of grew apart and everything. And there was a lot of layers, and I really enjoyed these two together. But it wasn't nothing like crazy stood out to me, but it was a very solid and good Christmas romance. By the way, all of these are like clean, closed door. I will put any content and trigger warnings down in the description box if there are any for any of these titles. And then the next one that I read was One Foggy Christmas by Courtney Kiesel, I believe. And this one I also gave a 4 stars, I believe. And it's basically like The Vow, the movie The Vow, the whole amnesia trope. She gets in an accident, she loses her memory, and her memory goes, like, is wiped from before she met her husband, basically. And so she thinks she's engaged to somebody else and all of this stuff. And it was so hard to read at parts. Like, oh my goodness. Like, I loved watching all of this lead up, and then I hated the present. And then, but the good thing about this book is that it does end better than The Vow. I think you get more of the after than you got in The Vow, and that did kind of make me enjoy it a bit more. But it was a little bit frustrating. I thought it was going to be a little bit less frustrating than The Vow, but I think that was kind of its main thing, was how well it did, like, at the end. So yeah, but I did enjoy it, and there was a lot of cute things about it. But yeah, if you're someone who's into the amnesia trope, and again, it is largely centered around Christmas, but it's also not like fully Christmas, because we're seeing past stuff too. So I feel like I could have read it not at Christmas and still been okay, but I did enjoy the Christmas vibes. That makes sense. All right, and then next, I finally read Till We Have Faces by C.S. Lewis. I gave this one a 3 stars. It honestly wasn't one of my favorites by his, but I'm also just like, I don't know, like, I'm not crazy into myths, like this type of story and storytelling. I know a lot of people who like this one better, so it might, just be up to you. It's basically, it's a Greek retold from a different character's perspective than what the original, like, Greek myth is told in. So it was okay. It was interesting, but I just didn't mesh with it very much. So, and then next, I finally finished The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. I was buddy reading this with my best friend, and I gave this one a 4.5 stars. Now, I know a lot of people might get mad at me about that because it's The Lord of the Rings, and objectively, like, I feel like, okay, yeah, I can see where this could be a 5 stars because of, like, what it did for the fantasy genre and his writing and all of this stuff. But for me, it's a 4.5. It's not quite a 5 stars. It just doesn't give me all those feelings. It just doesn't connect. But I love reading them. I love seeing how different they are from the movies, and seeing the different placements of stuff. For example, the spider Sheob, Sheba. I can't remember the spider's name. Oh my gosh. But that's in the third movie, but it's actually at the end of the second book. So it's just interesting how they kind of like move stuff around, events around sometimes. But I love finding those little differences. And it's really cool since I have seen the movie, because I can kind of like picture stuff in my head better. So I really enjoyed my reading experience, but 4.5 stars for me personally. And then next, I finished off the year with our last nonfiction book in the book club, and that was The Crucified Life by A.W. Tozer. I really enjoyed this one. I gave this a 4.75 stars. It was a very good book by Tozer. A lot more simplified, I think, and just like easier to understand, and not quite as heavy, while still like kind of being heavy, for one of his books. And I really enjoyed it. I felt like it's one that I would definitely recommend if you're wanting to like try to dip your toes into Tozer, because some of his stuff can be kind of heavy and kind of harder to understand just because he's like writes stuff and you're like, that's a whole sermon. Oh my goodness, how to dissect that. But this one was a lot more bite-sized, I guess I would say. And the next and the last Christmas book that I read was Christmas at Sugar Plum Manor. And this was by Rosanna M. White. I want to say that's her name. I gave this a 4.25 stars. At first, I wasn't sure if I was going to get into it, but then I started to get into it more. There's not a ton that happens, and there was a lot of slow parts, but there were certain things in the way things were done, and then also just the time error that, like, I really did enjoy this one. It was a 4.25 stars for me. I loved the little budding romance throughout it, and it really did give a lot of fun Christmas and wintry vibes. I literally finished this on Christmas Eve, and it was just like a perfect one to like finish on Christmas Eve for me. And then finally, last but not least, is Journaling Through the Psalms. This was edited, or the introduction and then the journaling prompts were done by Susie Larson. I gave this one a 4.5 stars. So this was a really good little journaling prompt book. I just read through the Psalms. It had a short little prompt for each psalm that basically was talking about what the psalm was talking about, but it was just a prompt to write a prayer to God, kind of like in the same way, same like topic matter, that type of thing. So these are kind of like my kind of devotionals. I don't really like to sit here and read a devotional that is just talking at me and I'm not really getting in the word much. So to actually just read through the entire book of Psalms and then to be able to like write out prayers with just a little bit of guided help, I really enjoyed that. I think that this is my probably favorite kind of devotional, that type of thing. I have no idea how many more of these types there are. If you know of more devotionals that are very much more that geared, let me know in the comments because I'd love to check out more like this. I really enjoyed it, and like I said, I don't like to be talked at too much. I like to get into the word more. So devotionals that have more word and less people talking about it, but still like, like a little bit, that's what I like more. So yeah, but that is the 10 books that I read in the month of December. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for coming along. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Sorry this video is later. Me and my entire family got the flu. I got it like right before Christmas, so I was down for Christmas. Then all my kids started to follow, and my husband and my family. It was a lot of fun. But I just am truly blessed that when my husband deployed, I was mostly over it. Like the fatigue and the coughing and stuff lasted for like another week, but I was mostly over the worst of the symptoms. My husband had stocked up on like so much stuff before he left, so I was able to take care of my family and everything. Praise the Lord for that. But yeah, sorry, it's a little bit late. It's been hard. I haven't been sleeping because the baby hasn't been sleeping. So I've been getting like 2 to 4 hours for like weeks now, and she finally slept like a longer stretch last night, and I'm like, oh, I feel like a new person again. So yeah. Anyway, y'all probably didn't want to hear all of that. I just appreciate you guys. Let me know in the comments down below what was your favorite book from the month of December, or just leave me a little Christmas tree emoji to let me know that you made it this far. Appreciate you guys so much, and I hope you guys continue to have a good reading month this January, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!